Hello, 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 hello. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, baseball fans. Welcome to the Team Towners. Welcome to this special place and a special night. I'm glad everybody's here, not only to hear some great baseball stories, talk some baseball, talk some sports, but also to do a little shopping. Hey? Hey? By all means, Cito will give you this credit card. No. As we know, we're here to talk to a very special man. I've been very lucky. First of all, my name is Rod Black, longtime broadcaster. In fact, was the broadcaster for the Blue Jays when they won the World Series 33 years ago. And it was a fantastic time in this city. Some of you weren't born yet, I know that, but it was an incredible time. I still think it's one of the highlights of any Canadian sports fan watching the Blue Jays in 92 and 93. And I really got a chance to cover this man, who I still consider one of the greatest coaches, mentors, leaders that I have ever met. He's a gentle giant. He was a former big league player who was actually the roommate of Henry Aaron. He taught Hank Aaron everything he knows. And had a great big league career, and then was the Blue Jays hitting coach for a long time. I still think one of the greatest hitting coaches of all time. Ask Jose Bautista, changed his swing, and you saw what Bautista did after that. And then, of course, in 1992-93, he took this team in this city, in this country, to the top of the world. I do believe that he should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and he will get there. He will get there next year. I'm convinced of that. He's in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. He's won everything imaginable in terms of awards and honors and achievements. He is known as Cito, but his name is Clarence Edwin Gaston. I don't know if anybody calls him Clarence anymore, but please welcome our friend, our manager, our champion, Cito Gaston.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate
My friend.
that. Appreciate that.
Well, when was the last time you were in a sporting goods store beyond shopping and to do something like this?
It's been a long time. But this is a beautiful store. I've never seen a store like this in Canada. You see a few down in the States, but this is an awesome store, and they got a lot of Blue Jay stuff here. And you can only have my credit card if you buy Blue Jay stuff. Okay? Thanks for all those nice things you said about me. That's very nice.
Well, they're deserved, as everybody knows. You've done so much. There's so much to talk about, and maybe we'll have time for some questions from all of you. And it's so nice to see the associations here, baseball associations, my buddy Kyle in the back, and all of the guys and gals who make this sport great and can make it greater in our country. WBC's around next year. I don't have to tell Cito how important baseball is to Canada, how many great players we've had. I used to be known as Rod Black, as Tyler Black's father, but now that's what I am, Tyler Black's father. He used to be my son. But it's so great to have a kid that plays baseball, so great to have baseball so prominent right now. It's spring. Do you miss spring baseball and going to spring training?
I do, because you get to see all the guys again. You know, you see all the players that you haven't seen in 3 months or so. And that's a little bit shorter. They're back to work in February now. But yeah, it's always nice. The weather gets nice, and you're down in Florida. Although I feel sorry for you people that were down there last week because it wasn't too nice. But yeah, I do miss spring training, but I managed to make up with it by playing golf.
Yeah, I know you play a lot of golf. I don't want to put a lot of pressure, and this will be an easy question. Can the Blue Jays make the playoffs this year?
Boy, I hope so. I think they have the pitching staff if they stay healthy. They just need to drive in some runs. They got to have a couple of guys have a good year. I think Junior's going to have a good year, but I think he needs Springer to step up a little bit and have the years that he's capable of having. And of course, Bichette and a few of the young guys. Well, you got a guy from Baltimore, and that kid's going to hit. He's going to hit in that ballpark. Yeah, he's going to hit some home runs, and he's going to do well. So they got a chance. They really do.
Do you keep on top of all of the soap opera regarding signings and who's doing this? Because I don't think a lot of people realize when you won the World Series in 92-93, the Blue Jays had the highest payroll in baseball at the time.
We did, and thanks to you people, your mom and dad, because they supported us, You know, we could not have done that without the fans. I mean, we were sold out every night. In fact, I used to walk in the dugout with my coach and I say, you know what, we sold out again tonight and we can't get a raise around here. They were looking at me say, you making more money than we are, what are you talking about? But anyways, I said that to him a lot, but you know, it's all you fans who supported us and gave us a chance to keep our players and go get other players. So thanks to you guys. I always thank the fans. I always have time for you guys because you had time for us. Thank you. Yes.
What a magical time it was. And I kind of go back to like the 80s when you were close and close. And then I thought 91 might have been one of the greatest teams. And that loss against Minnesota in 91 probably propelled you to what you did in 92. But also 91 was magical because of the All-Star game coming to Canada, to Toronto.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, I have to go back and look, but I think we beat them 9 out of 12 times that year, or 8 out of 12. And they managed to beat us in the playoffs.
And then you go out and get players. You went out and got Jack Morris, David Cohn. You go through the list.
Yeah.
Dave Winfield, who wanted noise. For those of you who are too young, Dave Winfield, one of the greatest players of all time, Yankee as well, which killed a seagull in Exhibition Stadium, actually was arrested, which was kind of ironic. A guy who killed a bird becomes a bird and then helps you win the World Series in 1992.
Yeah. Dave, I'll tell you a quick story about Dave. I really think that Dave was thrown at that seagull. Now, Dave and I used to be roommates, and we played together in San Diego. And Dave's one of those guys like John Olerud, never played in the minor leagues, We signed him, and I think he came right to the big leagues. And we used to tease him all the time because he had a lot of ground balls and run like hell and beat him out. Those ground balls turned into line drives next year. He had over 400 in spring training, so he made the team. He's on the team. But Dave was a big leader in that clubhouse, him and Jack Morris. Jack took care of the pitches when I wasn't around to watch him. And I don't watch everybody. I let you do what you got to do. And Dave certainly took care of the hitters. And if anybody was messing around, those guys would get in their butt and would whoop their butt too, tell you. Because Jack, I love Jack. Jack's a gamer. Dave Winfield's a gamer too. But and Dave's still in the game. He's still in the game. He works in the Player Association office, and he's a nice man. I spoke with him a couple of weeks ago. I think he's going to do something that you guys are going to like to see one of these days. It's going to kind of be like Michael Jordan. I think Michael Jordan did. Actually, I have an interview with some of his people next week to talk about Dave Winfield, and I can't say enough good things about Dave Winfield.
What goes on, Team Town stays in Team Town.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, well, it does. But we'll see. You'll see what happens.
Okay.
You'll see what happens.
Tease. But 92 was so great. The World Series was unbelievable, and having a chance to cover it and being around a championship team for the first time. Did you have an inkling? When did you have an inkling that this team could win the World Championship?
I tell you what, in spring training, when we got Dave and we went on, we got a few more pitches, and Jack Morris, first game in Detroit. And Jack does not like to be taken out of the game. And, I had to fight with him a few times, but I said to him, first game in Detroit, we opened this season in Detroit, a little clubhouse about big as this stage. You've been in that clubhouse, right? Mm-hmm. You better not stoop over too often. But anyway, I remember Dave saying, hey, you guys get on base and I'll drive the attack. And he had a 3-run home run that day. And Jack's out there, he's got 120 pitches, he don't want to come out of the game. He doesn't want to come out of the game. First game of the season. So I said, okay, I'll get Jack when we get home. I called in my office. I said, listen, Jack, I got 2 MFs on this team. You get us to 7. I got 2 guys that take it the rest of the way. That's in Ward, and that's in Tom Hankey. And from that day on, I never had any more problem out of Jack. He just wanted to win the game. He didn't want anybody to blow his lead. So after that discussion with him, Jack's one of my favorite people. He is.
Do you think one of the reasons that team became so great, though, was that December 5th date when you acquired Joe Carter and Robbie Alomar? And it changed the complexion of the team. You had to give up Tony Fernandez and a Hall of Famer in Fred McGriff.
Yeah, I wish I could have kept all of them, to be honest with you. But it did, it changed the team.
Then you would have been the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I know, who's got a good thing going on there.
Yeah.
I don't know how the other ones let them get away with that, but anyway, they could all do it if they want to. But I think Robbie and Joe brought a real winning attitude to that team. Joe Carter's like Michael Jordan. He would not let his kids win a checker game against him. He's competitive all the time. And Robbie, he just loves to play, loves to play. And will bag up things. He'll tell me, hey, Cito, I'll go, I'm gonna hit his fork ball this time, right center. Go up and hit it right center. That's believing in yourself. And those two guys, they changed it. You know, good defensive player. Robert's probably one of the best second basemen ever in baseball. And Joe Carter, I was telling a story this morning. I was on a talk show this morning, and I said, you know, Joe Carter used to have migraine headaches. And he'd come to me and say, Skip, have you put out the lineup yet? And I go, not yet. He says, well, just hold on. He said, I got a little migraine. He'd go back, and we had a sauna. He'd go back and stay in the dark for an hour or two. He always played. He always played, whether he had a headache or not. So he wanted to be out there all the time, and he was, you know, you deal with Joe a lot. You know how Joe is. He's a winner. Yeah.
Well, he did it the next year, too. He actually had a dream the night before. I don't know if anybody knows that. He had a dream that he was going to hit the game-winning home run to win the World Series. That's how blessed Joe Carter is. But take those two, 92 and 93. It's one thing to win, and then to repeat, and repeat in the fashion that you did. Do you still think about that stuff? I mean, the beauty is YouTube and you can watch it, but does it still go back in the memory banks of the euphoria that you must have felt as a manager?
Oh, it's you know, like deja vu. You know, you didn't expect. Here's the thing about that team. I don't know if you guys, anybody in this room know that. We changed 14 guys. We got rid of 14 guys, brought 14 new guys in. And that was something right there. But we had a team that year. It wasn't as good as the other team, 92 team. But we did something that's almost impossible. We outscored the other teams. And you had John O'Rourke, who led the league in hitting, and Paul Molitor was second, and Rob Alamoy finished third in the league. So we drove in a lot of runs, but we didn't have the same pitching staff. But I had guys with heart. Jack Morris would, you know, he'd run through that wall to beat you, and so would Dave Stewart. So I had guys, they didn't have the same stuff that they had in the past, but they were out there to beat you every day. So I had a lot of guys that wanted to play and wanted to win. And I think that team really wanted to win for Paul Molitor, who had been there before, had not won, and God, he did his job. He did his job to help win that thing. Paul's one of the greatest hitters I've ever been around. He has a talent that most people don't have. He can wait till the last second and see what that pitch is, and then he explodes on it. I mean, he just turns loose everything. And a little secret about Paul: when that game started, he's mean. he takes no prisoners. He comes to beat your butt every day. So that team was different, but it was really something to get in those cars again and go for another parade. It was like, oh, it's almost unreal that happened back-to-back years, and two different teams, pretty much.
I don't know if any camera caught you, but did you ever kind of like we all do, like those great moments? Do you ever have any dreams or anything like that? Remembering that day or that moment when Joe hit that ball, because everybody in Canada to this day says they were at that game.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, but they probably were, but I don't know. But I a little story about that. Had a kid named Donnell Coles on the team, and I had replaced. Put Alfredo Griffin in. He was hitting behind Joe in the last part of that game, the last end of the game. And I go by stats, and I had seen that Joe Carter actually, Alfredo Griffin he was a better hitter against Mitch Williams than Donnell Coles. And so I had a decision to make. Am I going to let Alfredo hit? Donnell, who has more power, let him hit, because we need a home run, we need a double, triple, or something like that. And thank God Joe saved me. I didn't have to make that decision. And to this day, I've only seen that ball go over the fence from video. I didn't see it. I had my head down thinking about what am I going to do here? What am I
Really?
Yeah, I never seen the ball go over the fence. I did.
It was good. It was good.
It saved me. Thank you. And the funny thing about Joe would normally hit that ball foul. And some kind of way he kept that ball fair. Because when Joe used to play for the Cleveland Indians, we used to hide in the dugout from him. Third base dugout, because he hit the ball in the dugout, pull the ball in the dugout. So he kept that ball fair, which was really awesome, just for him to do that. But that was a great win,
Yeah, it was. And come to think of it, could have been, think of what could have happened to Alfredo Griffin or Darnell Coles. They could have had their own golf classic. They could have been of Canada. They could have been the guy, but it kind of only was right that Joe Carter, Mr. RBI, would be the guy. Now being around that team at the time, I mean, I always found you were that great manager. You could manage personalities. And as great as those rings are that you have, do you get a sense of pride and respect knowing the respect that you got from the players? You were like Raymond. Everyone loved Raymond. Everyone loved Cito Gaston. I know there were a couple of players that might not have.
That might not, yeah.
But even today, you must look back and say, oh, I'm so happy that I had those, kind of like my sons or my nephews or my younger brothers.
Yeah, and that's what they were to me, like my kids. And, you know, you give respect, you get respect.
Well, you helped change a lot of people. One guy, and I want to get more into managing with you in a second, but one player who you absolutely changed was one of the greatest Blue Jays of all time, is Jose Bautista. Yeah. For those coaches and managers and those really deeply involved with kids baseball, what did you do to Jose Bautista to make him become a 50 home run hitter?
Well, you know, the first time I seen Jose, we were playing my first game back in Pittsburgh, and he had a home run for Doc to beat us. And that's not easy to do. And I just kind of noticed him. I go, yeah, that's pretty good, you know. The thing that Jose was doing, he wasn't getting ready in time. It's a simple thing. Get that front foot down, and you get it down quicker. Bats get to the ball. He was always late on pitches, always late. And believe it or not, that's the only adjustment he made. That's it. I said, listen, Jose, you're not getting that leg down. Get it down, and if you're gonna set on breaking balls, wait till they turn it loose. Don't get that leg up too soon. And Jose's a smart kid. He's a very smart kid. And Jose's from Dominican Republic, but when he speaks like he's a Canadian American. He has good management of the English language. He knows it real well. But he's also a kid that's willing to learn, and you can teach him. That's the thing. You guys coach young kids, even in big league baseball, in Major League Baseball, or just organized baseball. All these kids are stars where they come from, and then when they get put into the mix with all these other stars, they have to make an adjustment. They have to change because you're playing with guys just as good as you are or better. And they don't want to change sometimes. They don't want, and I understand that because they were very successful in what they were doing before then. So why do they want to change? You know, that's tough. That's tough to do. But Jose was willing to change, and look at him. He's up on the Hall of Excellence. Yeah.
He has changed the game too in more ways than one with one bat flip.
Yeah.
Which at one time, for some of the contemporary players, if you bat flipped in any game or you pimped, as they call it, guess what was happening to you next time?
Yeah.
The game has changed so much. Now it's almost choreographed for players. Do you like where the game is, where players can stand, admire, flip, whatever?
You know, I don't want to get away from what you're talking about. I said a long time ago that, you know what, wrestling, which is, you know, it's just a business. And all that stuff they're doing, they make tons of money. And so I said, you know what, we need more showmanship in this game. And when I was playing, if I'd have flipped that bat like that, I wouldn't be sitting there right now. I'd have been hitting the head 2 or 3 times, you know. But to me, I think it's just good showmanship. And fans love it. And pitchers have learned to accept it. And I used to say to pitchers all the time, I used to get knocked down from a guy hitting a home run in front of me. I get hit, I'm the next hitter, I got hit. And I said, listen, is it fair for you to hit me? If you strike me out 4 times, can I throw the bat at you? And they look at me like, are you crazy? I said, why are you throwing at me? I didn't even hit the home run. You throwing at me? So I'm glad the game has changed. I think it's cool. They're doing it. Everybody's doing it. I think what's changed a lot too, a lot of these guys got the same agent too.
Yes.
And so, you know, if you throw at he's one of my guys. Why are you throwing at him? So I think that's helping. The owners too has a lot of money invested in these players. They don't want them on the IL. So they put in rules and regulations that they don't do it. They still do it, but not as much as they did when I was playing. Bob Gibson, he'd throw at his mother if he had to. He didn't care. But you respect that from him. And quick story about Bob. Second base one day in St. Louis. I don't know how I got there because I never hit the guy. I was on second, bases loaded, no one out. 9 fastballs, struck out the side.
Whoa.
Not one. I was getting the lead, and 3 fastballs in a row, strike, 3 fastballs out. I just started looking at him. He threw 9 fastballs, struck out 3 guys. And but Gibby was one of those guys, he never wanted to come out of the game. Yeah, he's quite an athlete too, really was.
I know, and I mention it every time I see you, but I think that you belong where you belong, and that's in Cooperstown. And you will get there, trust me, you will get there. Not lost on you is the fact that you were the first African American to win a World Series back-to-back. You've been joined now by Dave Roberts and Dusty, Dusty just admires what you have done so much. But you think about Black History Month and what it means to you, the fact that you were once a roommate of one of the greatest players, pre-steroid players, home run champion, probably, if you take everything else out, in Hank Aaron.
Man, what a guy. Hank was, his was so funny about, I had a great year in '66. None of you people were born in that year, but you wasn't even around in 1966. And so they brought me up to the big league at the end of the season, and they roomed me with Hank Aaron. And I can't believe Hank would let a rookie room with him, but he did. And man, I learned so much. I learned how to tie a tie from Hank. You know, I didn't know how to tie a tie. He taught me how to tie a tie. He also taught me that, you know, he said, you know, Cito, if you have a good day, you enjoy it, but don't bring it back the next day. You have a bad day, go and think about what you can do to make it better the next day, but don't bring it back. So he's one of those guys. And he's probably one of the best hitters I've ever been around in my life. I mean, Hank could hit pitches that nobody else could hit. And if you go back and look at some of the video, he got in that box nice and quiet, always put his helmet over top his cap, and man, when that ball was coming, he would attack that ball like he was mad at that ball. I mean, he'd get off the ground hitting that ball. Just amazing guy. And he's my roommate, and I got to room with him again in spring training. But here's the kick on that. He's my idol as a kid. Who gets to room with the idol? Man, I've had a great life, great life. And he's the guy who got me back in the game. He called me 3 times and said, he was farm director with the Atlanta Braves. Cito, would you come work with me? He never said work for me, he said, come work with me. And the 3rd time I said, okay, otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here. I owe him a lot. Plus he used to let me drive his car too. That was cool.
Did you have a nice car?
Yeah, he had a nice car. Nice car. Yeah.
Imagine those days though. I mean, Hank Aaron today would make $50 million a year.
He couldn't pay
Hank
him.
Aaron didn't make $5 million in his career.
No. I don't think they could pay some of these guys, you know, Willie Mays, you know, let's not forget one of the greatest players too, Mickey Mantle, who most of you guys, he had a bad knee. Guy used to go down the first base 3-1, 3-2, 3 flat, running on a bad knee. And this guy, they wouldn't be able to pay these guys nowadays if they were out there playing right now. But you know what? I said to a girl I was on a flight with today, she says, you know, some of these guys are making too much money. I said, well, let me ask you a question. And she says, what is it? I said, if you had a company and you were running that company and you paying somebody more money than you're making, does that make any sense? And she says, no. I said, take it from there. Yeah. They must be making the money if they can pay it. Yeah. Simple as that.
Yeah. Supply and demand.
Yeah.
When did somebody first call you Cito?
You know, it's a
Clarence?
guy. Oh, well.
When was the last time anybody called you Clarence?
Beeston calls me that all the time. And he's never called me Cito.
Really?
And Paul and I talk at least a couple of times a month, or maybe more than that. Depends on what's going on in baseball. There's another guy. I wouldn't be sitting here either if it wasn't for Paul Beeston either, because he came out when they fired Jimmy Williams. But I thought that we had a great team that year, which got off to a bad start. And he came out, him and Pat Gillett. I lived in Mississauga. I used to live in Mississauga right here, close to the Credit River. And they came out and they said, we want you to manage the team. I go, man, I don't want to do that. I said, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. How many times you can go to work and be happy? You know, I was happy being a hitting coach and all that. And Beeston looked at me and said, you it. And so that was, you know, the rest of it was history. You know, players, we started to win. Players said, Cito, take the job. And I was telling Andrew today that I think Sparky Anderson, he came to me one day in Detroit and said, Cito, take it for your family if no one else. And he's right. It turned my whole life around. And I'm able to play golf 4 days a week because all these people are nice to me. And you guys supported us. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Yeah.
Andrew is Andrew Jackson from Jackson.
I'm sorry if you guys don't know that.
Yeah.
Good man right there.
So you play golf. What do you do with your rings? Where do you like, if you have to get into a restaurant or anything, do you like show it? Hey, bling
Well,
bling.
you know, I don't really. If people know who I am, that's fine. But if they don't, I'm okay. But sometimes
You never age, by the way. You're
Well,
Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
Look at you. You keep
Well,
getting younger.
Well, thanks for saying
And
that.
the best mustache ever. I thought I had a good one, but
Well,
look at that.
I had a lady call me today, Lord Mosby. I said, man, I'm about 20 years old, Mosby, but thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's nice of you. But yeah, you know, I will use my name if it gets me into a nice restaurant once in a while. And I do have I was just thinking about that. My World Series ring is out in Andrew's car. It's out in Andrew Jackson's
Security,
car.
could you go please make sure that car is
So
looked after?
I will wear that tomorrow night, but I usually switch off. I don't wear both of them at the same time. That's a little bit much, you know, wearing two of them at the same time. So I will wear one year, and the year goes pretty good. I'll keep it, or I'll switch out the other one. But it's something that I will never forget, and God, I never would have thought that would have happened to me, but thank God for, you know, and I don't know if you guys know, I lived in this country for 20 years. This is home for me too. I love it here. I love it here. Might have to move back too. Anyway, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go that way, but anyway, this is a great place for me. And I do have my World Series ring, and I love them to death.
Yeah. Tomorrow night, by the way, Cito is being honored. Lifetime Achievement Award at the Conn Smythe Sports Dinner. Well deserved, so.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You got every imaginable award, your level of excellence, all of those. Is there one that you're more proud of, or something that really, I know you're not an emotional guy at times, but I have seen you cry a few times.
Yeah.
And one of the times was at the American League Championship. I've seen that at the World Series.
Yeah.
When you had to say goodbye to the game.
Yeah.
That was a tough day.
That's a tough day. Tough day. I think that's the picture you guys have right there. The ones I was signed today is my last game that I managed here. That was a tough day, but it was time to move on. You know, I missed a lot of time with my kids, and that I could never get back. But I try to spend time with my grandkids now, and I have 9 of them. Believe that, 9 grandkids, and 2 great grandkids. I'm an old guy, man. Old people. I have 2 kids live up here, and there's 5 of my grandkids up here in Toronto, this area. But you know, I'm happy in my life and what I've done. And I keep telling my wife, I got a whole box of baseball cards of myself. I need to get them signed about 100 of them a day and put Hall of Fame on, because when I die, they're gonna put me in. Those cards are gonna be worth a lot of money.
Yeah. No, you're gonna be around, and you're gonna see that for sure.
Yeah.
You know, Pete Rose is probably gonna go in.
Yeah, he's gonna go in.
You know, I think that's, it's probably logical that, again, the Baseball Hall of Fame is a museum, by the way. Yeah. It's not a shrine, it's not a cathedral. Right. Put in the players that made the game great, even if they had something that was nefarious or whatever. Put them in, and so it tells the story, the history of the game. You're in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Right. And before we wrap this up, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about management, and especially for some of the coaches and managers here, and parents for kids. Maybe a philosophy that might have changed through the years for Cito Gaston. When you first got in, when you didn't want to take the job, then you learned the job, then you became a master. What would you kind of leave with everybody?
Well, you know what? When you are challenged to do something, don't go away from it. You always say, and this might sound silly, you guys. I'm supposed to be here tonight. You guys are supposed to be here tonight. Otherwise, where else would you supposed to be? You're here. And you get a challenge to do something, don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to do it, but you have to work at it. You have to work hard. I mean, we put in a lot of hours at that ballpark. I was telling Andrew Jackson today, coming over here, I said, we had 3 coaches when I first came with the Blue Jays. John Sullivan, Al Whitmire, Jimmy Williams, and they all gone. The only guy still around is Bobby Cox. And Bobby Cox had a really terrible stroke about 5 years ago, and he can barely speak. And we worked hard in this organization. Jimmy Williams used to throw batting practice for an hour a day for extra hitting, which Fred McGriff and Cecil Fielder thought we were punishing those guys. And I said, listen, if we didn't think you guys were going to be good, we would not even waste time with you guys coming out here. And one of them turned into a Hall of Famer. And I think Cecil might have a chance to go in one of these days. But the guy, you know, there's 2 guys going in this year that should have been a long time ago. And one of them was my teammates, and Dave Parker. I played in Pittsburgh for 10 days, loved it. I wish I'd have played there for another year because they won the World Series. And of course, you know, Richie Allen belongs in the Hall of Fame. Rich, I don't know if you guys know anything about Richie. Richie used to swing like a 42-ounce bat. And I mean, he had to bend this way, and he get it all the way back around. He's the only guy ever hit me a ball in center field that hooked, that moved, because the ball in center field is easy to play if you can run. because the ball comes at you pretty true. Left field, right field. They always put the worst outfield in left field. That's a tough place to play because the ball moves on you out there all the time. But back to, these kids, I was on a show this morning. I said, I had, and I'll mention this a little bit tomorrow, I had a guy named Boom Boom Beck my first year in spring training. He was a pitching coach, and his name was Boom Boom because he pitched in Philadelphia, and he had a Big Ten wall, and every time he raised it on, it was boom. Ball was coming off that wall, boom, so they named him Boom Boom. And this guy invested in Texaco. He ended up being a rich guy. But he told me one day, it's pitching, I'm an outfielder. He said, Cito, you know what? He said, he taught me how you can't catch a ball with two hands. He says, you coming in, how you gonna catch a ball of a shoestring with two hands? You can't, up on the wall. It's gotta be one hand up on the wall. You can't go with two hands. And then the thing that he told me really was important is, listen to your coaches. He said, they might say 1,001 words, and that one word might help you. And be coachable. That's what I call guys. Some guys are not coachable. Batista's coachable. A lot of guys are coachable. Fred McGriff was coachable. Believe it or not, Kelly Gruber, who should be in the Hall of Fame, because he had that kind of talent. But I think you talk to the kids, they listen to you guys. And I take my hat off to all you coaches out there because I know it's tough because you got to deal with the parents too. That's the toughest job out there.
Take a couple of questions, and I do want to ask you though, for all the stuff that you've done, and you've done so much, and you will be in the Hall of Fame, and I do believe there should be a Cito Gaston ballpark somewhere in Toronto someday. 100 years from now, when people go and look at your plaque, whether it's in St. Mary's or Cooperstown, what do you hope that people will say about Cito Gaston?
I hope they just said that I'll go back to Preston Gomez, my first full-time big league manager. He was hard, but he was fair. You can be hard, but you got to be fair. And I hope that's what they said. Cito was fair. He was hard sometimes, but he was fair. And most people didn't think I was hard because I sit there all the time like I'm pretty dead in a dugout, but I wasn't. I was still alive. But I think just being fair to people and respecting people. And I put myself in a situation with guys with the bases loaded. As a player, I played myself, and I need a base hit to win this game. And when they don't succeed, this is one of the only businesses that you can be wrong 7 out of 10 times and be a multi-millionaire. As a manager's story, these guys come to work and they're wrong 7 out of 10 times, they're not going to be here long, are they? They won't be able. And that's the only game that's the only job you can have, and you're still hitting 300.
Yeah, remember that back there. Okay?
But anyway, that's the thing I want. People, said that Cito was fair, but he was, he had some tough rules. Preston Gomez, I learned a lot from Preston. Preston always, and I try to do this when I was managed 3 innings ahead of me. What if this happens not to wait till it happens, and then you try to manage it. Always try to manage it. Coaches always have a plan down the road. And I used to get in a lot of trouble because I would say, I'm losing this game today because I'm not going to use this guy. But I will win 3 down the road because he's going to play harder for me the next time. And that's what you do. And I got in a lot of trouble with not pinching guys when I give them a day off. Who wants to go up and make an out on a day off? If he gets a base hit, he's happy, but he's upset if he go home. I only had 1 at bat and I made out. I don't want to do that. And then yourself, I got in a lot of trouble for not pinching guys, and I go, no, they off today, let it go. That's fine. And that's what I want people to say, that I was fair. And I care about all my guys. I still wonder how they doing, the ones I don't see anymore, and how they making it in life. And that's what I want people to think about me, being a little tough but fair. But I got to tell you one story real quick because I started out in Dave Winfield, Seagull. The best line I ever heard was Billy Martin. And they asked Billy Martin, said, you think he was throwing at that Seagull? He said, my outfielders haven't been a cutoff man all year. I thought that was a great line right there. That was a good line right there. Anyway, I had to tell that one.
Everybody will remember you as fair. I wish we all had bosses as good as Cito Gaston, and they will also remember that you brought us as in Canadians, 2 world championships. They'll remember the class you always showed. I think a lot of them might still say, and you still haven't answered it, when did they start calling you Cito, and why did they call you? Because there's a lot of legend about it, whether it was some Mexican wrestler.
That's true.
Oh, is it true?
True.
All
true.
right.
In summertime, we were working at this garage and parking cars and trying to make some money in the summertime. I come from a rich family. we had food on the table. We certainly didn't have a lot of money. And I used to work part-time at this parking garage, and this guy named Carlos Thompson, who's no longer with us. He's about my same height. He looked at me one day, he ended up being a police officer. He looked at me one day and said, you know, you look like that Mexican rascal named Cito. So I said, you know what, that sounds a lot better than Clarence. So I'm taking that and run with it. I'm sad. For my mother, I didn't change my name, you know. And I said to Mom, why would you name me Clarence? She said, you have an uncle named Clarence. I said, where is he at? I never met him. Where's he at? Then gave me Edwin, too. Edwin's not too bad, though.
Edwin's not bad.
Yeah, but anyway.
You're always Cito to us, and you're always
Thank
a
you.
friend and a champion and a Canadian as well. A couple of quick questions. Does anybody have anything? Yeah, right there.
Yeah, first of all, we definitely appreciate you and all that you've done for the city.
Thank you.
Without you, we wouldn't have a championship. I think for me, that was the first memory that I had of a winning Toronto team, right?
Right.
At least they're never going to win anyways, but but one of the things I wanted to know is 94, baseball went on strike.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think, or what do you think would have happened in terms of the Blue Jays and their finish in 94, and who would they have played?
The Expos.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I tell you what, that year was a difficult year because we didn't have time, we didn't have a closer. We started out in first place, but I tried everybody out as far as a closer, and it's a different mentality out there as a closer. And even put Todd out there, he couldn't do it either. So I'll be honest with you, Montreal would have probably won the World Series, and we probably would have finished last like we did, because we didn't have that kind of team that year. I had no one in the bullpen to close games out. And that hurt us quite a bit that year. But Montreal, if you remember, they were in first place, and they had a good team over there. And Philippe Lou, and I played with Philippe Lou in Atlanta, so he's a good friend too. Yeah.
They were on the Sports Illustrated cover at the All-Star break as the two best teams. And I think had the Expos won, Montreal Expos would still be in Montreal.
Yeah, they would.
Which
they
is
would
really
have.
sad.
Yeah, it is.
And I'd love to see them back.
Yeah.
Cito, same thing. I want to say thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Two things. One, hopefully the next time I get an autograph from you, you can put HOF in front of it, because like Rob said, you deserve it.
That would be great.
Second thing is Robbie the best player you ever managed?
Well, you know what? I have dodged that question for years, and I'm going to dodge it again tonight.
He's my favorite.
Well, there you go. I had a lot of great players play for me, and if you look at it, Robbie's a Hall of Famer. That tells you a lot about Robbie. In fact, the night that he finished third in the league, he was chasing down Kenny Lofton in Cleveland, and we were in Baltimore. And Robbie, we had John Brio, who was our traveling secretary at the time, let me know what Kenny Lofton was doing. So he was 1 for 3, and Robbie had a little percentage point ahead of him. He was 1 for 3. So she said, "What do you think, Cito?" I said, "Listen, I hit 318 one year in San Diego. A guy named Wes Park in L.A. hit 319, but he thought he was on 320." And if he swings another game, if he makes an out, he's still going to hit the 319. So he took himself out of the game. He said, "What did you say?" And I said, "Well, I think he another hit." He says, "I'll go up there and do that." That's what he did. He walked right up there and said, "Base hit," and he finished third in the league. So that tells you a lot about Robbie Alomar. Robbie is one of the greatest players we ever had here, for sure. Probably the best second base we ever had there. But I don't, there's so many guys I have to answer to. We had 2 World Series teams, so we had some great players here. Thanks for asking, though. Yeah.
Joe Carter hit the biggest home run in World Series history. And Ed Sprague, I think, hit the most impactful home run.
Right.
Robbie Alomar hit the most important
That's right.
home run. You may have never got to a World Series
You're right.
against Dennis Eckersley in '92.
Yeah, and that was one time that LaRusso managed that team really well. He did a good job with his left hand. He had Honeycutt coming out of the bullpen, his left-hander. But what happened, he got caught because they like to turn Robbie around. They want him hit from the right side. And he had already used Honeycutt. So he got caught with X, because X didn't pitch against many left-handers. And it's not taking anything away from him, because I would love to have him on my team, because he threw strikes all the time. He's Hall of Fame also. But he got caught in the end with X facing Robbie, and Robbie, as they say in baseball, he took him deep. Yeah.
2 hands.
Yeah.
Time for a couple more, if anybody has. Yep, go right ahead.
I hate to take it away from all the memories, but there's not a lot of times we get to talk to somebody as, probably one of the best hitting coaches of all time. My question really is, The game has changed hitting wise. You know, we're really reliant on home runs now, and
Right.
you can see it with the instruction right down to the levels that we coach with the kids, where the emphasis on hitting fly balls. And I was wondering about your thoughts on how the game has changed. What do you think, and has there been a big shift in the way that players approach hitting?
I think the game, well, let me ask you a question. You like to see home runs?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. That's not a fair question. I think everybody would say yes to that. And I think the owners have made the ballpark smaller for these guys that normally teach everybody to swing up now, which that wasn't taught to me. And the guys talking about earlier, Dave Winfield swung down all the time. And I think he's got 3,000 hits, you know. And Nappy, you know, my lifetime average, I never learned how to hit till I was playing 6 years in the big leagues. I learned how to hit. Because no one taught me how to hit. They just look fastball and adjust to a breaking ball. The ball's 100 mile an hour fastball, breaking ball is 90. That's the big difference. That's big. You can't hit that way. A-Rod would tell you that. A-Rod hit his 500 home run against me, hit his 600 home run against me, and I've seen him take fastball right down the middle of the plate, 3-2, because he's sitting on a breaking ball. And he take it and go sit down. Next time you get that breaking ball and hit it out of the ballpark. But I think that's just the way the game's gone. I don't think it's going to change. I mean, I hit 256 I'd be a superstar now hitting 256. They don't care if you don't hit for average anymore. And to me, I think that's important. And you know, the shift that they had on, they took that away too, which I'm okay for that because but I would have beat that shift. I'd hit the ball the other way, you know. And they tell you how they're going to pitch you by putting the shift on. If they plan you to pull, they're going to pitch you in most of the time. So they tell you how to pitch. So I don't agree with a lot of things they're doing these days, but fans like it, home runs. And although I had a roommate named Nate Covert who had about 40 home runs one year. He's a good high fastball hitter. I like the ball up and away, down and in. And believe it or not, everybody's different. And you coach, you know everybody's different. And Nate used to tell me, Roomie, I see it up there, I leave it up there. He just drive it straight back up. And you know what, I wish I'd have learned that from him, because it would have helped me too. So I know what you're saying. I'd rather see more base hits, doubles. There was a World Series back here, I can't remember, 2 or 3 years ago. There was no doubles in it. There was singles and home runs. Nobody's stealing bases. Now they got the base stealing back in it. I don't know about the big bases, though. I think guys slide right over that big base sometimes. Or they're going to get hurt going to first base on it. But yeah, it's a different game now, and I think the fans enjoy home runs. I mean, we like to see a no-hitter once in a while, but not all the time. A one-hitter, a two-hitter. But I think fans come to the ballpark to see, you know, like you go to hockey, you want to see scores, right? You want to see the putt going in net. So, yeah, I know what you're saying. I'd rather see it the other way, but it's not going to change now. I don't think it will, no. Thank you. You're welcome.
We want to see Canada beat the United States in hockey, actually.
Yeah, there you go, there you go.
In blind brawls. One more. Anybody? Question in the back? Kyle, surely you have a question for Cito Gaston.
Sure. Thanks, Cito, for your time. Thanks, Blackie. You know, as folks who are very hyper-focused in on youth development in baseball, do you feel that, it's kind of a two-part question. One, we need to start getting younger with our development and our aptitude with our athletes. Yeah. And two, have we moved away from teaching the game and teaching kids how to be more technical within the game?
You got it right, both of them. I started them young. I was playing when I was 6 years old, man. You know, playing Little League or whatever. And it's really changed now because kids were getting hurt. You play T-ball now, right? They're throwing the ball back when I was playing. And I think I was training myself to play in the big leagues and I didn't even know it. I had no idea. We used to get a tennis ball, a broomstick, cut it off, and we had gloves. But you know what kind of glove we had? And I'm in a place with a lot of gloves. But gloves, what I'm gonna tell you is not gonna catch a hard ball. We can only catch a tennis ball in a brown paper bag. You roll it up, and it'll stay in there if you catch it. One guy pitched, one guy would hit, and one guy would catch. And little did I know, like I seen Tony Batista one day hitting bird seeds. And I'm thinking, man, you can hit a bird seed, you can hit a fastball, right? And I think that you should start younger. And what was the other question you, sorry?
The technical
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's lost. You know, I think it's really lost. And but I say at the age of, how old the kids are you working with?
It ranges 9 to 15.
Yeah. Well, they get to 15, and I don't think it's too early to start teaching people the right way, man, because they get bad habits going the wrong way. You know, I always say let them have fun too. Let them play, let them have fun. But I think, you know, like, and even in baseball, I mean, organized baseball, a lot of our teams used to be in the minor leagues. We want to teach them how to play the game properly, which is right. But you also want to teach them to be winners. You know, winners, because that rubs off, man. You become a winner. You do not want to lose, and you do anything to keep from losing. But I think a lot of these organizations say, well, we want to teach them the Blue Jay way or the St. Louis Cardinals way, this and that. But you got to teach them how to win too. We want to win. But I think those kids, you're right at the age of 15 that they should start moving on. And but I think if you guys, here's the thing: you have a hard time here because of weather, though, right? That you can't start so early. I mean, you can go in gyms, and I know they got different places you can go indoors and play. But I noticed one thing when I first started coaching in the minor leagues, and I started down in Bradenton, and actually I called Hank Aaron. I said, you know, these kids that come from the north are behind the kids that come from the south. Kids come from California, Texas, Florida, all these warm places. And I said, I wouldn't let some of these kids go so fast, release them, because they haven't played enough games to catch up with these other guys. And they start to do that. And you know, sometimes they release people that end up going, I almost got released myself. And I ended up playing in the big leagues because I got a chance to play a little bit more and learn how to hit a little bit better. But yeah, I think you're right on that sense. That I think, you know, analytics, that's what you're talking about, I'm pretty sure, right? You know, a manager, I don't even know how many managers make their own lineup out anymore, to be honest with you.
Did you know in Tampa, some of you in the room might know, Kevin Cash has a bunch of his assistant coaches. One of his assistant coaches is a Canadian, John Ehrlichman, who is a data-driven sabermetrician, and he's got brilliant numbers. And he sits in the dugout in a uniform. That's where we've come.
Yeah.
Where the analytics people are actually in
the
uniform.
dugout, they are. The Blue Jays have some too, in the dugout, yeah. And it's not like, there's so many, you know, I heard a story a couple of years ago, and San Francisco was in town. And think about this, we used to travel with 25 players, maybe three or four of them on the IL, and you know, travel with 30 players. These teams travel with 75 people sometimes. Every seat on that plane is booked. And those players, they're not players. But that's where the game's gone. I mean, I guess I'd imagine the Dodgers do a lot of that, but I tell you what, I kind of knew they were going to win that World Series because they had the better bullpen. That's what I see. And now no one might beat them for a long time with the team they have right now. Yeah.
I really want to thank Team Town here for everything you've done today. I know there's food, and one of the things, and I'm sure I speak for the coaches, being a former coach and having kids that play and being a parent, one of the things that we're missing in Canada is always equipment. Goodness gracious, it's very hard to get good, elite, high-performance baseball equipment. So thank you to what you do here because you've done that. But it's nice that you can come here to a place where you don't have to travel to the States, to Buffalo, to get a good bat.
That's right.
So thank you for what you're doing here and continued success. This is a fantastic place. But mostly, Cito, we want to thank you for being Cito Gaston. Long live Cito Gaston, Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame manager, Hall of Fame gentleman, first class. Let's hear it for Cito.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.